Hello, welcome to Northwest Connection. This episode we're joined by Celestial Diadem, a post-rock PR company turning music into mythologies and amplifying voices across the scene. Let's dive into the cosmic approach to shaping the future of post-rock. Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to Northwest Connection. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Chris. I am the promoter or the organizer of Celestial Diadem. I run events across the UK and I'm in the process of working towards my next 3-day event in London. That will be in February of 2026.
So, how did you start promoting that?
I actually started during COVID, which is wild. It kind of didn't really start as a promotion company. It started more of looking at doing PR. And I started working with the guys in Soundscapes. Most people know Dan as my husband. And they wanted to release an album. So I kind of worked with Dan from Nation and worked on sort of the PR for that. And then coming out of lockdown, decided that I wanted to start putting on some more sort of like post-metal specific shows and post-rock, and sort of like looking at quite niche lineups. And it kind of all has just spiraled from there, really.
Right, okay. So have you got a background in PR, have you? Is that why you ended up helping Dan, or was it just helping out your husband because it was COVID?
Something to do during COVID. I'm actually a teacher. I'm a full-time teacher. I'm teaching in primary school. And I think sort of I've played in bands and like I've sung in bands previously. But I think it sort of just taps into my organisational skills, I suppose. And I think it's just something I sort of like really wanted to go into. Sort of like playing in a band and that singing bit is kind of sort of something I've done in the past, but still wanted to stay very much in the music industry and sort of support a scene that definitely has prospects to really grow and really thrive in the UK.
So was that the scene that you used to sing in as well, was it? Or were you in different types of bands, the post-metal and post-rock?
No, I did loads of like cover stuff when I was a lot younger. And then I played in sort I don't know, sort of like a sort of folky, atmospheric sort of songwriter band with Dan called Third Horizon. And then I also was singing in a doom metal band called Sadness and Despondency. One of those bands, you know, your friends put together in the garage and you think, this is really cool. And then you're like, who are we kidding?
And where did the name come from? Is there a special meaning behind it?
Just a COVID cooked up name, I suppose. I'm really into like loads of fantasy and sci-fi, like movies and books and stuff. So it was one of those just sort of amalgamated from sort of that sort of sci-fi fantasy vibe that I really like. It's a bit spacey and a bit different.
So we're here today to talk about the Weekender. So where did the idea for the Weekender come about from?
I think the very first time I put on this event, it was just one day. I just put on a Saturday. And I think there were sort of 5 or 6 bands on. And again, it was just sort of like purely post-rock, post-metal. And I put it on at 229. Again, it was probably only the second event that I'd done. And I think for me, like putting on these events, it's kind of partly selfish. Like I just put them on because they're bands that I really like. And it means that I can go and watch like 5 really good bands as opposed to being that person who's like, I'll just skip the opener because I'm not really a fan. So that's kind of where it came from. And then it's just grown every year. Sort of, I've added an extra day. I added a Friday evening. And then last year I did a Friday evening, a Saturday and a Sunday. And I think people have like really cottoned onto it. It's still like really small. Obviously, it's still really niche. It's still very much down that sort of like post-ish vein, expanding a little bit. But yeah, I think it's really cool that it just, I think, taps into all of those upcoming bands like in the UK, and there's like space for sort of more established bands, but also like I try to keep all my sort of like open and slots to still bands that I want to see now. But
Yeah.
you know, sort of those up and coming bands, like again, just need a bit of a break, which is really cool. And people really like it. People every year say to me, "Oh, you're going to do this again." So here I am, going into my fourth year, despite the stress, ready for another year of it, for sure.
So how do you get that balance between the local bands and then bringing in bigger names?
I think again, it's a big work in progress always. Like, but it's a whole year of sort of like getting in touch with people, and I think sort of it kind of somewhat has grown itself from the first sort of year or two. There's lots of bands that like get in touch with me now and say, "Oh, we really like an opening slot for this." Um, but also bands that potentially I've seen at festivals. So there's a couple of bands like I've seen an Art Tangent that I'll get in touch with them and be like, "Oh, I saw your Art Tangent. Do you want to come and play my show?" And kind of sort of pinch those bands that are on their way up. So it's not
Yeah.
necessarily like huge headliners that like are sort of like Art Tangent, Damnation, Strange Forms, like that sort of headline level, but it's also um, a really good mix. And with local bands and sort of like local supports, I do try and find a post band from that city that I'm gigging in. Brings people down. Also, it's just really good to showcase different bands from different places. And I think that's then what this London thing does, kind of gets all of those smaller bands and growing bands to one place, which is really great.
So do you think the atmosphere is important as the lineup when you're curating a gig?
Yes, absolutely. Obviously, like I said, there's a whole big selfish motive that I put on bands that I like to listen to, but I also will put on bands if you're nice people. It's like a huge thing for me. Like, to be fair, I'm a teacher, so I work with little devils daily. You know, it's the nicest way I can put it sometimes. But it's really hard because I like Celestial Diadem is just me. It's me on my own, putting on these events as often as I can. And I think that most people, most bands, to be fair, like 90% of bands that I've worked with want to play these shows for absolute like love of the music and because there's such a good vibe from fans, you know, and it like this sort of weekender is exactly why I do it every weekend when I get there. As much as it's hard work, it is the fans that just absolutely make it. And I think I've put on gigs, in all honesty, where there have been 12 people in the audience and gigs where there have been 100 people in the audience, and I wouldn't have said that that gig with 12 people was any less than the one with 50, just because of the vibe from
Yeah.
bands, from the fans, and it's such an awesome like genre to be like a part of and to sort of be able to support those bands by creating those opportunities. And it's really cool for bands because they get to play with all those sort of like-minded like musicians as well, which is just really amazing. I've had a lot of bands um, like play for me quite regularly, again, just because it's a really cool atmosphere to be a part of.
Cool.
Awesome.
Have
So
you
have you ever had a go on? Sorry, Lee.
I was going to go with that one. Have you ever had a logistical nightmare that's turned into a legendary story?
Um, I, I don't, to be fair, I've been pretty lucky that I'm not there yet. I definitely have had some near misses. I've had some um, definite sort of like, so I've had to get my teacher voice out for sure. You know, I've definitely had to rip that out. It's probably the best like weapon I have in my arsenal. Honestly, when working with guys in bands, they need a teacher voice every now and then. You know, it is important. But it's yeah, no, I've been pretty lucky so far. Like I've been pretty lucky that I've had some really great gigs. There's always we've always come up against the like the technical issues or um somebody's forgot, you know, the classic. Somebody's forgot their cymbal stands. Men, classic. But you know, it's I've been really fortunate that we've yeah every gig that I've done has been a success, which is good.
So what's the most chaotic gig you've ever pulled off?
I I mean, for me, like, to be fair, like, this London Weekender, like last year, I think was the first time that I put on like the 3 days. I was really lucky that I'd moved my Friday to the same venue at 229, and it is a great venue. I think just that in itself for me is absolute carnage, because even though it's not a huge festival, there's me who's trying to manage the running of
Yeah.
the day and getting bands on and off stage and it's one stage, 20-minute changeovers, and some of these post metal bands, they're coming with like a 7-piece lineup, and you're just like, I'm never going to get you on and off. And then they get on, and then there's an instance where they want a projector, so they're trying to pull down the TV from the wall in the dressing room, and you're just like, no, guys, no, you've got like 5 minutes. Just get on stage. Like, you don't need that TV. And I kind of like, I'm really lucky because it's one of those that like all the bands pull together. I'm also like super organized, so like my advances go out really far in advance, and I do very much send words of warning. Emails have been known to be sent underlined, red text, bold. This is your limit. Don't cross it. But yeah, again, the things are pretty good. Most of my things is travel, so I'm living in Birmingham, just outside of Birmingham at the moment, and I try to get to every gig that I put on, be it in London or Manchester or Cambridge, and logistically that's a bit of a nightmare after a school day to get to places. So 9 times out of 10, if it's chaos, it's because I'm not where I should be, to be fair.
So you've already said that you do this, it gives you, because for the love of the music, and it gives you a chance to see the bands. While you're running these things, how do you actually get to see any of these bands?
I try to book venues where I can do doors from inside the room.
Right, okay.
Yeah, which is always a winner. I think, to be fair, as I'm growing, I've got people that will come and like do doors for me, as well, which means that I can then sort of be there at the front watching bands. And also, like I said, some of the bands that I've picked are obviously bands that I've also then seen play elsewhere.
Yeah.
I put on Soundscapes a load of times. I mean, I listen to them rehearsing every other day, so I'm like, I don't really need to watch you. You're golden. You crack on, you know. And I think that, I think at the moment, because of how sort of small I am, sort of in the realm that I'm working in, I'm really lucky that I can work in venues where actually just sort of capacity wise, like I'm always in the room somewhat. And yeah, so I kind of get the best of both worlds, working the show and also then getting to be part of that, and watching the bands as well.
And can you relax while watching the bands, or is it
No,
always in the
it's
back of your
really
mind?
stressful. It's really stressful. The best thing about, I'm always like, oh yeah, it's a free gig, is it? But no, it is. I think I'm always fine once I get sort of like my main supports are on, and I know that everything's on time. I'm always golden. And like I said, I always give myself like plenty of time and whack out the feature voice if I'm thinking that I'm running late, you know?
Yeah.
But as soon as my headliners go on, I'm good. I can calm them.
Yeah, it sounds like the teacher voice is going to be the best weapon in your arsenal, to be honest, if you want things to move.
It gets things done. It gets things done.
So, do you want to tell us about Celestial Diadem 2026, the Weekender?
Yes. So it's coming February the 6th. And again, it's a weekend at 229. I've got 2 bands playing really hefty sets on the Friday night. And then I will put on 7 bands on the Saturday and 5 on the Sunday. So far, we have announced Fort and Kusanagi, and also Dinner of Celestial Birds. And our next announcement hopefully will drop fairly soon. And yeah, my plan is to by the end of sort of December have all my bands announced, so that in January we can get our lineup sorted for like sort of like our day splits, and then get releasing any day tickets. We put out some early birds that have gone now, which is amazing. It's sort of the first time that we trialed that, and they went down really well. We've got some sort of like competitions coming up as well to win some like merch bundles and bar tabs. Again, we want to make this year just bigger than any of the other three, so that it's something we can keep growing, which is super exciting. I'm really looking forward to it. I've got some super bands on the lineup, again, that just showcase so much of like what the UK has to offer in terms of like post rock, post metal, and some of those sort of like crossover bands. So I'm actually really psyched about 2026 for sure.
And where do you see Celestial Diadem in the next 5 years? Have you got any specific goals that you're aiming for?
Again, like I just want to keep growing. I've got quite a lot more, quite a few more events in my 2026 calendar coming up than I definitely had for 2025. It's been quite a quiet year, but I've been in the process of like we relocated, and sort of like moved out of Reading, which has sort of been a really big year for us. So 2026 is a big one. I've got a couple of tour weekenders going out. I'm working with a couple of bands on album release weekenders, vinyl release weekenders, EP releases. So hopefully, just in 2026 alone, lots more gigs. And I want to keep growing the weekender, ideally. Maybe looking at something like 2 stages, possibly. Looking at getting some bigger bands. It would be really nice to start getting over more European bands as well, if possible. And yeah, just going big, ideally. Leaving teaching so that I can do more stuff with Diadem.
So,
the dream.
what's your dream venue anywhere in the world? No limits.
Oh, that's really hard. I don't know. I've been to some really cool venues that I really like. And like, I think lots of people go for sort of like big classic arenas and stuff. But with Post, like some of the smaller venues are actually really nice. I remember seeing Wardruna and a separate gig at Wing Victory for a Sullen at the Union Chapel in London, which was really nice for some of that sort of like atmospheric post. Stuff. To be fair, I really love putting on my festival at 229 in London. It sounds great. The guys that work there are super. And I think with a venue, it's not necessarily like for me, it's not necessarily about like its aesthetics, it's how it sounds for post metal, but also a lot of it is actually like your sound guy and your sound engineer and somebody who's going to invest in actually, I am going to stand there and I'm going to mix this during the set rather than just think, oh yeah, your levels are good. I'm just going to like pop off now. So like, I mean, upgrading to somewhere like the Dome would be awesome, in London. But some of those smaller venues for me are pretty cool, and pretty like they sound pretty good and pull a really good crowd. So, I'm all about spending my money on bands rather than venues, I think.
Awesome.
So, if you curate a stage at another festival, which one would you choose, and what 5 bands are you booking?
God, I always hate these questions, but I love them, but I hate them. I guess it would be some sort of post stage somewhere. I mean, there's lots of cool festivals that I go to that do post really well. Strange Forms do a really good job. Art Tangent, Damnation, Trees, all of those. There's so many good ones. I want them all. I want the stage at them all, to be fair.
You want to stage them all?
I want post bands everywhere. I guess like my biggest post bands, like if I was to put on a post band and have a festival, oh God. Oh, so many. I'd love to work with, I don't know, like This Will Destroy You. They're like in just like my top tier band. Love them. Oh God, there's so many cool bands. It's just too many cool bands. Like bands like Caspian, Holy Fawn, really love those guys. I've seen them so many times when they've come over to play. I'd love to get somebody like that never tours, like We Lost the Sea Over. They would be pretty cool. Also, like there's a really cool band solo guy called Message to Bears. Put out an album recently or an EP, and never toured, but I'd be like, play for me, please.
For me, yeah.
So many. I think the thing is with Post, it's one of those weird ones. There are so many good bands out there, but actually not always necessarily like the place for them to play. So there's a lot of cool bands that drop albums and like drop really awesome singles and EPs and like are really great online or like in their home country. I think it's getting some of those sort of like American ones and those European ones over to the UK is kind of sort of like what would be like my end goal if I was curating a stage at a festival. Is getting all those bands over that don't play all that often over here because there's sort of like nowhere for them to go really. Yeah.
Have you had any weird rider requests?
Oh, no, actually. I mean,
Not
I'm
yet.
not yet. I'm definitely expecting them. I think when I approach bands, I'm like, just come and play my show. Like, you're lucky just to get on the show. I'll pay your travel if you're great, you know. No, I think lots of bands are usually just like snacks, beer, that'll do. Like, lots of bands are just pretty happy with beer and snacks, to be honest. So yeah, nothing weird yet. I think bands that are in post bands are a bit too polite.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that one.
Yeah.
Nope. If you could host a show in a surreal location, where would it be?
Oh, a surreal location. Um, Probably somewhere like a cave, something in the middle of nowhere. Yeah.
They've got that in France, haven't they? I think there's a cave in France somewhere where they actually have like black metal and doom bands on.
Prophecy Fest.
Is that what it is? Is it Prophecy Fest?
Yeah, I went to one of their shows in a cave. I think it was like in Germany somewhere. I don't know. I had to get in a taxi with a guy who fell asleep, like the taxi driver fell asleep. So I kind of don't really know where it was. I don't think he knew where it was either. But it was a banging festival. It was so good. I feel like, yeah, that's wild. I can't imagine the logistics of making it sound good in a cave. Like they pulled it off and it was incredible. I'd give it a go.
If Celestial Diadem had a house band, what would be your number one choice?
House band. Absolutely Venga Boys. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Venga Boys. And I'm going to open every gig with We Like to Party. And I'm going to close every gig with We Like to Party by Venga Boys. Every time.
But you can already do that.
Yeah.
You've got your festival, you know.
True. So I don't know
Starts
how
in
much
2026.
I don't know how much the Venga Boys cost though.
That's got to be the dream, hasn't it? Then really, the Venga ways to actually close the festival.
Yeah, Never mind post metal; they'll absolutely be my dream headliners, the Venga Boys. For sure.
Okay, if you had to swap jobs with the band for one night, would you rather be on stage or running merch?
Oh, God, I've done it all. Neither. I'd rather not go.
Fair enough.
Merch is probably the coolest. Merch is the coolest because you get to talk to fans, and those performing days, like they're all right. They're just too stressful. I hate sound checking as a singer. It's just really awkward. I never had a decent keyboard when I wanted to play synths. It was really shit. Like it was not my cup of tea. So yeah, I'll sell merch every day if I had to.
Have you got a current song that's on repeat?
Yes. I use McFly fan, so I've got like one of the latest McFly albums that is on my list. So yeah, Stargirl by McFly is my one at the moment.
Okay.
It's not those
I wasn't expecting that.
Sorry.
Hey, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry.
They're an awesome band. They're great. They're such
I'll take your
good
word for
light
it.
relief. They're such good light relief after all the post metal that I have to listen to on the regular.
All right, so we're going to move on to some quick fire questions now. Vinyl or streaming?
Say that again.
Vinyl or streaming?
Oh, vinyl.
Big festivals or intimate gigs?
Intimate gigs.
The Office, UK or US?
UK.
Bacon frazzles or onion rings?
Pickled onion monster munch.
We'll take that.
City life or country life?
Country life.
And our final question is: a curry-filled donut or gravy-flavoured ice cream?
Curry-filled donut. I hate gravy.
You're not going to do well up north.
No. I give it a go just because I'm a team player.
Tiff, thank you for coming on, and good luck with Celestial Diadem weekend at 2026.
Thank you so
Looking
much.
forward to seeing the rest of the lineup.
Talk to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. It was so great to meet you both.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.